Hello everyone, in this session we'll be learning about Ionic framework. So let's get started. This is a table of index which we'll be following over the period of videos. We'll start with the introduction about the Ionic framework, then we'll follow the installation process, and then we'll learn about why and what are the features which Ionic give. That's why we are learning about the Ionic. Then we'll have a brief introduction about Ionic CLI, and we'll see how relatable it is with the Angular CLI. Then we will know about the pages in Ionic, and then we'll know about the different UI components in Ionic. And at last, we'll know about the routing and HTTP client in the Ionic app. So let's get started. So Ionic Framework is an open source UI toolkit, which means it's just for the front end part of our application, and it is used to make an applications, and you can use it to make application for applications such as desktop application or a mobile application. We will use it to make to convert our Angular app which we made into a mobile application. In this way, we'll be covering a whole lot of customer, one which goes on to the web page and the other one who prefers doing things on a mobile phone. That's why I'll make an app for them. And the best part about Ionic is it uses web technologies like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, which we already know about. And it integrates all of this and make us an app for us. And it integrates with the Angular framework. That's why it's quite easy for us to understand at this situation. So let's get ahead. Installing Ionic is quite simple. We can use npm to install the Ionic CLI. So I'll open a terminal now, and there we can install the Ionic. So we have a terminal. So here we'll use npm, then install, then my dash g, which stands for global, then @ionic/CLI. This dash G is quite important, which means it's installing in the whole global scope, which means you can use this Angular CLI anywhere in your machine. We'll hit enter, and it I'll stop the process now because I have already installed it on my local machine. But if you'll follow this, the Ionic CLI will be installed in your local machine with no problem. So with just one line of code, you can install the Ionic. And the next thing which you need along with the Ionic, because we are making a web application and converting it into a mobile application, that's why we need an Android Studio. You can also convert your web application into an iOS application, but because it's quite easy for developing app in Android, that's why we'll start with learning Android application. So next thing which we want is we need to install the Android Studio. You can do this from our website, from Autonice website. There's a free tutorial on how to install Android Studio. In whatever OS which you are, you can install it in your Mac OS or in the Windows OS. So let's see, let's have a slight look at our installation process. So once you reach on this URL, which is mentioned on the slides, you'll come onto our Autonice page. Here is a brief introduction about how you can install the Android Studio into your local machine. You can just follow this and with no problem, you'll be able to install the Android Studio. Let's go back to our slides now. So earlier, there were used to be different developers for different type of OS. There were people who used to make app just for Apple, for iOS. These were iOS developers. And there were people who used to build applications for Android. They were Android developers. But now, because of cross-platform native web applications like Ionic, it can handle different type of it can handle to make different type of apps. You just need to write the basic part, the HTML, CSS, and JS code, which you provide. And then the rest of the things are managed by Ionic only. That's why it's quite popular. Now you don't need two different code base for two different type of application. Now you just need one application, and then from there you can convert it into an Android application or into an iOS application or even a Windows application. So single code base is achieved, which is quite a big feature. And because it is a it's a UI framework, which means it's on the front end framework. It also provides a beautiful design in the UI components, which we'll see later to how to use them and how can we search about them. And because the Ionic also have a CLI like Angular CLI, it's quite fast to develop prototype applications in Ionic. And at the end, because Ionic is compatible with the Angular projects, and we have already studied about the Angular, so it's quite easy for us to understand Ionic right now. So why not to study in Ionic then?